Hello. I decided to just hop in here for a little bit and talk a little bit about the first day, 2 days of semifinals, whatever you want to call it. I didn't really have anything to do tonight and figured I'd hop on here and talk to some of you guys about what we saw, what we can expect over the next couple of days, and what's been going well or less well so far. So, first, if you happen to be watching, say hi in the comments. I'll be trying to read a lot of the comments and talk to all of you. And I know it's like late at night. On the East Coast, it's already after midnight, but I figured I would still do this because why not? Maybe someone will be watching. So, first thing that I think is what's probably the best part of semifinals this weekend and so far, and that was the live stream they managed to get up for events 1 for the individuals and event 3 for the teams today. And if you don't know about that and didn't get to see that because you heard that CrossFit wasn't broadcasting those, they did find a way to make the broadcast happen. So I'm going to show you where you can find that for tomorrow, because tomorrow, event 3, Linda is going to not be streamed on the mainstream, but you will be able to find it here on CrossFit Podcasts YouTube page. So they did the whole event there today. Started out a little bit rough. There was no audio at first, but it did get better throughout. So that was great. And they had some pretty good video. Chase and Adrian did a really great job of giving some analysis. The video was not as good as the video you're going to see on the CrossFit Games mainstream, right? They have professional cameras. They're all hardwired in, and that's a lot of work and a lot of money. And that's why they weren't broadcasting it, I would assume, on this second floor, was because of all the effort, money, resources it takes to set up a broadcast on a second floor. But CrossFit Podcast, with the help of Brian Friend, I think Mike Halpin was helping. They managed to put together something that was actually really good. And in my opinion, wasn't necessarily better than the broadcast, but a lot better than what people were asking for, which was just like a stagnant camera. I don't think that would have looked very good or been very interesting without the analysis. But Chase and Adrian did a really good job with this. And I'm excited to see how it goes with Linda tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, they will be doing Linda on CrossFit Podcast's YouTube page. If you see here, I believe it's already scheduled. Let me scroll down. Yeah, so 6 a.m. This is Pacific time. I live in Pacific time, but it would be 9 a.m. Eastern. They're going to have a live stream again for Linda, individual event 3. I would check that out. I feel like Linda's the one that was super disappointing that they weren't going to be broadcasting, because we had regionals Linda back in 2018, I believe. And after having seen this and now seeing the adjustments they're making for semifinals Linda with the dumbbells, I think everyone really wanted to see that event. So it's pretty exciting that there is going to be a live stream. This is where you can find it. CrossFit Podcasts. Chase and Adrian, I believe, will be doing the commentary again. It looks like it from the graphic they have up on the screen there, and scheduled for tomorrow morning. Also, I think it's great that it's giving CrossFit Podcast all of this exposure. Oh, yeah. Bruce Wayne in the comments. Hey, Amanda. Hi. Hey, everyone. But if you take a look, this has done a lot for CrossFit Podcasts, and CrossFit Podcast puts out some good content. Unfortunately, not a lot of people watch it. Like you can see another live video streamed 8 days ago, 476 views. A video from yesterday, I believe, or 2 days ago with Alex Gazan has 248 views. So hopefully the impact also of streaming these here, you can see it says 78,000 views so far, will help this whole channel grow as well, because I think Chase does a pretty good job on there and no one really sees any of this stuff. So definitely something you should check out if you haven't checked it out before. And you're certainly going to want to watch it tomorrow morning for semifinals Linda, which is where you're going to find it. Anyway, that was probably the highlight of the day for me. I don't know, put in the comments if you thought something else was really great that happened today, but I was surprised by that. Very impressed by the work put in on that. I know Brian Friend had a huge hand in that. Of course, so did Chase and Adrian, who did the commentating. And I believe Mike Halpin was on the broadcast as well. Bruce Wayne, Chase is a good dude. He seems like a good dude and he did a great job. And this is not their main thing, putting together all of this kind of broadcast. And they did a really great job. So I am excited to see what they do tomorrow and really excited that we get to see Linda in some capacity now that they managed to put this together. So that's a highlight for me. But let's take a little bit of look at the leaderboard so we can get an idea of how people are doing, because there's definitely some surprises. Hey, Hannah and Lucas, nice to have you join us here. We're going to take a look at some of the standings. And something I was also surprised by was the live stream for Africa. We actually have a live stream for Africa, and it's not that bad compared to what we've seen in the past. So let's start with teams over in North America East, because that's who went first. And I think if you take a look at the teams here, who is on top is not particularly surprising. We've got CrossFit East Nashville proven, and who didn't expect them to be winning? I do know that they were a little bit disappointed about their 2 third place finishes. I mean, this isn't the same team as Mayhem that had the same win on it last year. And Tolo was also on a really good team last year. This is a newer team. Having a couple third place finishes, it's not the end of the world. They are not clearly in first. Like they don't have a huge cushion there, but they have a little bit of a cushion. And I think they're just going to continue to excel on day 3. And they're working out some of the kinks. And Tim Paulson isn't there full time with them. So this is not the same thing as when Mayhem was over at Cookville with Rich and everybody was working out together every single day. That's not what they have going on here. So there's kinks to work out. And I think they're doing really well. I mean, they've got, like I said, first, third, first. They were disappointed with their third place in workout 3, came in and killed workout 4. I think they're in first now. I believe they were in second after day 1, though. They're in first now, and I think they're just going to stay there. CrossFit Move Fast, Lift Heavy 24/7 surprised me. They're doing very, very well as well. And so is AB CrossFit Mayhem. I know they made the games last year, but I don't think they're one of the teams that people were as zoned in on for this semifinal. So I've been impressed with AB CrossFit Mayhem and also very impressed by their cheering section. If you watch tomorrow, listen for the AB CrossFit chants because they are there. They're doing very well. 4th, CrossFit Krypton, a team that I kind of had thought would end up in 4th at the end of the weekend. Not necessarily with these 2 teams ahead of them, but I thought that 4th was a realistic place, and there they are. That's Ben Smith's team. Ben Smith won the CrossFit Games back in 2015. He hasn't made it the last few years. He was trying to go as an individual and didn't make it, but he will likely be there on his team, CrossFit Krypton, this year, as long as they keep on track with how they've done so far. 5th place, CrossFit Mayhem Independence. A little bit surprising to see them down in 5th. I was thinking they'd probably be 2nd in this field, maybe 3rd. Again, there are still 2 more events tomorrow, right? This could be shaken up quite a bit. And if we look at the point spreads here, it's not that insane. We've got 388 for 1st and 60 points down is CrossFit Mayhem in 5th. But remember that this year we are taking 10 teams from this semifinal. So all of these teams are currently sitting in a qualifying position. And there's a lot of close point spreads there, but it's really close within that top 10. And you do have a little bit of a drop off after that. So there is a potential that the top 10 we're seeing currently on the team side may remain the top 10. I know 15 points isn't a lot there, but you can see there is a little bit of a separation between 10th and 11th here. But you never know. It would be exciting to have there be a race. And again, this is still a little bit weird with this new 10 teams going because there's only really 10 teams in a heat. So with that being said, like the second heat, the second to last heat, the third heat is just as important as the first heat, maybe even more important. So that's something to look out for when you're watching. If you only really care about the top athletes and the people that are going to be going to the games, that second to last heat just as vital as the top heat, because everyone in the top heat could be going. That second to last heat is where you're going to be seeing the shifting, right? There could be a couple people at the end of the first heat that get knocked out, and a couple people in the second to last heat that end up making it to the games. So when you're watching tomorrow and looking to see who's going to make the games, you got to make sure you remember that second to last heat, just as important, if not as more important than the top heat. Hi, Patrick. Thank you. Thank you for hanging out with me late at night, early Saturday morning, or late Friday night, whatever it is for you. But team competition is exciting to me. Last year, CrossFit Mayhem, Freedom, the old Mayhem, won every event at their semifinal. Not super exciting to see that. It's cool to see. It's cool to see people doing that well, but it's not nearly as exciting as having a race. So having these be a little bit closer and having people not the same people not come in first, I think it makes it more interesting. That's just my opinion, but I like it to be a little bit more competitive. Although it's impressive to see people sweep the weekend like we saw Mayhem do last year. And then we also said CrossFit Reykjavik did it last year too. Rich is the GOAT. He totally is. I am really disappointed that he's not going to be competing as a master this year, he said, or he's like 99% not going as a master. I think soon, if not already, they had to accept their invites. So I don't think we're going to see him in Madison competing, but I wish we would. It's a bummer. But we've got half of his old team here competing at East Nashville, and then some other really great Mayhem athletes competing for CrossFit Mayhem Independence. Now let's move over to the women, men. Who do we want to do first? I guess we'll do women because they went after the teams. So women's side, I'm a little bit surprised to see. Yeah, he's already announced he wasn't competing. Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was 100% or if he was still saying like 99.7%, but 100% not competing. But moving on to the women, I was a little bit surprised to see Emma Carey come out this strong. But we did see her at Wodapalooza come out pretty strong too. And she didn't end up finishing first at the end of the weekend. So, well, I do believe Emma Carey is going to qualify for the CrossFit Games. Unsure if we're going to see her in first, even though she is in first right now. And she doesn't have a huge buffer there, right? She's up by 3 points on Emma Lawson. And really, if you look at the points there right now, those two are sort of in a league of their own. They are up on 20 points on the rest of the field. And this is an interesting battle because these are two girls we could see battling it out for years to come. Both very young. Emma Lawson, 18, I believe. Emma Carey, I believe, is 19 after taking last year off. So it is awesome to see Emma Carey doing so well in her first year back after an injury. She looks good. She's focused. Emma Lawson, though, blew that second event out of the water. Like, she got so far into the burpee box jump overs in that event that she was almost off the competition floor, farther than I think they had anticipated anyone getting, because she was kicking her placard with her number on it. So I was very impressed to see that by Emma Lawson. Amanda Barnhart came out pretty strong too with a great finish on the first event. I think the pulls, the handover pulls, really worked well for her and she was able to capitalize there. Danielle Brandon smashed that first event. I think she was a minute clear of the second place person. Alexis Raptis, not surprised to see her in the top 10, top 10, but even top 5. She finished in the top 10 at the games last year in her first appearance. So really solid finish for her. Fee Sagafi, she was someone I said to look out for to possibly make her way to the games. And there she is. Paige Powers making up for not a great finish on the first event, but second event better. And then we have some people down here in 9th, 10th, 11th who could make it to the games, but I think we're going to see a lot of shifting through these people throughout the weekend. And we have some other people down here that are a little bit surprising. Like they're in surprising positions. Caroline Prevost, Paige Semenza, not super worried about them. Shelby Neal, I think, can make it into the top 10. She's not super far out right now. We still have 5 scored events. So there's going to be a lot of shifting. But some people that I was surprised about, if we come down here in 23rd place, we've got Brooke Wells. And I think she might be in trouble. Brooke Wells had a really, really poor finish on event 2. 34th, 15 reps. That is not great. She barely got to the box most of the time. She really struggled with the muscle up portion of the event. And I mean, that's 34th place. I don't know how many people who are going to have 30th finishes are going to be able to make up that to make it to the games. Again, we have 5 events left. If she were to win all 5 of them, yeah, great chance she'd make it to the games. But that's a pretty poor finish. And Brooke has struggled with the upper body pulling in the past. I know she didn't do well on the legless rope climb last year. Muscle ups weren't ever really her best movement, but that rucksack with the muscle ups, I think really impacted her. Like, I believe this is more of a capacity thing than it is an injury or something. Like, I don't think it was something that hurt. I think that this was just an issue with the upper body pulling and with doing the muscle ups and the dips with that rucksack on. And that that's going to be hard to overcome. And it would be really surprising after seeing Brooke Wells finish 5th last year to see her not even make the games this year. She could do it. We've seen people come back from low finishes. I think Haley Adams last year on the snatch event, I believe, didn't do very well and made it to finish 1st in her semifinals. So we could still see Brooke do well. But this is not a great start. 17th in the first event was fine. It's a big field. 17th is very different than it was when you had 30 women, 60 women. 17th is still very good, but 34th is not great. And it's funny because you look down at Sydney Wells, her sister, did even better on that first event and then got 0 reps. And again, it's that upper body pulling that just is it might just be a genetic thing, right? Like they're both not very good at it. And it just might be something that they're not genetically inclined to be good at. Wad Zombie, hi. Nice to see you. Bruce Wayne asked, is Annika Greer in trouble? Well, now I just went to the wrong page. But she is in less trouble, I believe, than Brooke Wells at this point, who is farther down. Let's see, where is Annika? 18th, right? So that's a better place. Her first event was her worst event. I think that it's pretty well known that she's not super strong at the endurance side of CrossFit. That's not her strong point. And that was likely the worst endurance workout of the weekend. There are some longer ones, but this is the workout that I think would probably be Annika's worst workout of the weekend. And then she ended up finishing 10th in the muscle up workout that had the rucksack that we've seen some other people who have historically made it to the games really struggle with. So I think that, I mean, she's not in the ideal position, right? You want to be in the top 11, but I think that she has the ability to possibly do really well on something like Linda because she's strong. I don't know what her bench press looks like, but she's strong. And yeah, Annika is small for the sled too. She's a small athlete, but she's a small athlete, and that'll be good for Linda too for the cleans, right? Get under there. So I think Annika has potential to do well in the rest of the weekend. So I don't know if I would say she's in trouble. That's just that's my opinion. I think she's actually in a decent place. And like I said, I think some of these women that we see up here right now, like some of the women in the lower half, the 10th, 11th, 12th. I mean, Jessica Schwartz, she did pretty well with both, right? But then you have Amanda Fisher, who has a 2nd and then a 38th. Danielle Kearns is a 3rd and then a 30-second. Like, these are athletes that may have gotten their best event right up front and isn't like they're not going to compete as well the rest of the weekend. Where someone like Annika, I think, is more well-rounded, is working with Training Think Tank right now. I think she has more potential. So much CrossFit, the time change killed it for me. There's a lot of CrossFit going on, and if you're not in the right time zone, it's a little bit crazy. But I think we have some interesting women to watch here. I am excited to see this Emma Carey, Emma Lawson race. I personally think that Emma Lawson will edge out Emma Carey on the leaderboard at the end of the weekend. I don't know what everyone else thinks, but that's my opinion. But also very impressed with Amanda Barnhart. Amanda Barnhart just switched camps. She's working with HWPO, and she's in third at the end of this weekend. And one of the event was a high cardio event, but it was also a strength event with that sled, and she killed that sled. I think that made a big difference. Let's take a look over at the men's fields. So for the men, Jeff Adler in first, and I am not entirely surprised. Jeff did great at semis last year. He's done great at the games. So I think that Jeff is definitely someone to keep your eye on out for the rest of the semis and the rest of the games. I mean, a first and a sixth, those are very, very good finishes, in my opinion. Like, I mean, it's not even an opinion thing. Those are great finishes in a 60-person field. So I would keep an eye on Jeff Adler. I think he will definitely qualify and could end up on the podium or win this whole thing. Jason Hopper had a pretty great showing. First place in the first event, crushed it, moved that sled. He's a taller athlete, so I think that helped him on the ski erg and did really well and didn't do bad on the second event. And the second event is one that I think could have been bad for him, right? He's a big athlete, tall, big man, has to get over those rings with the rucksack. And then you got a burpee box jump over, and the burpee portion, a little bit harder for the bigger athletes, but the box was a little bit higher, so it may have evened out. So I'm impressed with Jason. And then you've got Dallin, also a bigger athlete, crushing it. Will Morad, he is a smaller athlete, did great on the burpees and has a really respectable finish on the first event too. Will Morad had to come back and crush semifinals last year at the last event to actually make it to the games, beating out Sprague in that last event. And I don't think Will Morad's going to have to do that this year. I think he looks like he could be in a qualifying position at the end of the, like, easily at the end of the weekend without having to do anything crazy. Alex Mignot, he was interesting. He was in the first event, the first heat of the day. And I believe he told Chase, he's like, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. This is not my heat. And he is, in fact, right. He will be in the top heat tomorrow. He did so well for someone who was in the back heats where he had to win his heat because he didn't know where everyone else was going to be. He couldn't game it. He had to sell his soul, and he did it. Alex Mignot, I think we're going to see him at the games too. And he had a bad quarterfinals event. That's what put him in the back end of it. But, you know, quarterfinals doesn't matter anymore. It was just for the placements going into today. And now he'll be in the top heat tomorrow competing with the best. Noah Olson, sixth place, good place to start. He looked really great on that second event, coming in second overall. Solid finish on the first event. Samuel Cornway, I think we've all been wondering how he was going to do with being team last year. Didn't really know what we were going to see from him. Seventh is okay. I think we were expecting a little bit more. Rich always talked about Sam as being fitter than him and all that, and he may. 10th and 7th are good finishes. Consistent finishes too. If he has those all weekend, he will climb the leaderboard. So keep an eye on him. James Sprague, happy to see him doing well. Coming in second. I don't know if you guys saw, but his sled literally fell over when he was doing his sled pulls. And that may have caused him the win against Hopper. but he seemed to have a good attitude about it. And the fact that like these things are going to happen. Sometimes your sled's going to fall over. It's all about how you react. And he got back on it. And I think it's a good headspace for him to be in because the whole weekend's not going to go your way. If that's the worst thing that happens to him, fantastic. He still came in second. And then a 17th on the second event. I don't know. Benoit Boulanger. I don't even know if that's how you say that very well, but these are good finishes. Luke Parker, I think we've all been waiting for him to make the jump. He's wanted to make the individual jump. He didn't want to go teams this year. I didn't expect him to be in the top 10, but here he is right now. So this is great positions for him to be in. Can he maintain it? We'll see. First event wasn't his best event. I don't think you would expect that from someone like Luke Parker. That's where you expect him to end up. 21st is probably good for that event. And then fourth in the second event. So Luke is sitting in a decent spot going into day 2. And I think better than where you'd expect. Roman Krenikov. I think I saw some comments about him in the comments. So I'll pull those up in a second. But he is in 3rd and 23rd. So Sarah said, I was hoping Roman would be higher. Me too, Sarah. I had picked Roman to win the semifinal, and with an 11th place finish at the end of day 1, I don't know if I will be correct about that. Is there a chance? Sure, there's still 5 events. We still have more points to the table than we have here, and it could be close. So, I mean, maybe he still will. And I think he'll be higher than 11th. Bruce Wayne asked, does Roman care about winning the semi, or he just wants to get the games and win there? That's a good question and something that you have to factor in, right? Like maybe he wants to win the semi, but I don't think he's peaking for semis. He's peaking for the games. He wants to win the CrossFit games. This is just to get there, right? This is something you have to check off your list to get to the real thing. And that is the CrossFit games. But also I will say 3rd in the first event, that's very good. And then 23rd in the second event, Roman also struggles with upper body pulling. Muscle ups have never been his best movement. And then you add in the fact that it had a ruck. So I don't think it's going to get better. Although because he's a bigger bodied athlete, the ruck might not impact as much as it would a smaller bodied athlete. But still, I think that that's going to have an impact. He's not great at it to start with. So I'm surprised to see him that low, but that may be his worst finish. We may have seen Roman's worst finish. I think he's just going to climb the leaderboard after this, and it'll get better. I think. I hope. Fingers crossed, right? I'm guessing, but I hope. I predict that it'll get better for Roman. Do I lawn chair leaderboard? I have done it once before. I've never, I don't usually have people to do it with. Can't really do it by yourself in the same way. I don't have like a team type thing. But I should do it because I think it's fun and it looks fun. So something I want to do. And someone said he should crush the bench. Sarah said, yeah, I think Roman will do great at the bench press. I think we saw Roman's worst event. And he's sitting in 11th, not a great place, but still technically qualified. And yeah, I think Roman's just going to get better. Oh, I'm invited to Bruce Wayne's next lawn chair leaderboard. I will do that, Bruce. 100%. So let's go down a little bit farther on this leaderboard, though, because there's some names we haven't seen that you would think we should have seen. Jack Farlow being in 16th, he's sort of still up and coming. I think this is fine. He could still make it to the games here. This doesn't count him out. Who I'm looking for, I don't see yet. Oh, there it is. So Spencer Panchek and Saxon Panchek. This was not a good day for either of these athletes. And they are small. So that could have had an impact on, a lot of it, right? Because that pull was hard to do for smaller athletes. And I mean, that's really their bigger problem, the pull. Because you look at these finishes, 51st for Spencer Panchek, and then a 10th on the second thing on the muscle ups. Spencer's great at muscle ups and Barry box jump overs. You expect him to do well there. He's going to still have to make up a lot of ground. And then Saxon Panchek, 32nd on the first event, and then 21st on the rugby box jump over workout with the muscle ups. That's going to be rough to come back from for Saxon. And I think Spencer and Saxon are both great. I do think overall, most people would say Saxon is the better of the two. So it's a little bit surprising to see him where he is right now. And I know he told some people, like, with the field being as large as it is, someone's going to make it to the games with a 30 plus finish. And I agree. It is very likely that one of the top 12 men is going to have a 30 plus place finish, but a 21st also, I don't know. This is not a great start to the weekend for Saxon. I hope he can pull it out and put on an amazing performance for the next 5 events, but he's going to have to, because this is not a good place to start. And I'd be a little bummed to see Saxon miss. So we shall see. I'm going to go to the comments real quick. James saying this is a solid live stream. You're knowledgeable. Thank you. I appreciate that. Malo says he's a good dude. There's a lot of good dudes. I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Maybe it was Roman. Maybe that's what I was talking about then. Sarah asked, where is Noah at? Noah's fine. I will scroll up. Noah is in 6th place, I believe. And that's fine. There it is. 6th place. Those are fine finishes. If Noah can continue to maintain that over the weekend, he will likely climb. Like if 15th is like his worst finish, he will likely make his way even a little bit higher on this leaderboard. But this is fine for Noah. Donovan can finish the whole thing in 6th. He doesn't need to win this event. Yeah, Noah will be fine. 100%. He's doing what he needs to do. This could be Noah's last season as an individual. I don't believe he's 100% decided yet. It's going to just depend on who he could potentially go team with next year and how he does this year. But this is a good start for Noah, exactly where he needs to be. Noah's got no concerns tonight. Noah can sleep easy going into tomorrow. But Spencer and Saxon, not great. Tyler Christoffel, I thought he would be doing a little bit better than he is. Both events are not great there. If you see that 37th and 24th, neither of those are great finishes. So I'd be a little bit concerned about his chances of making it back into the top 10, top 12. And then something else I was really concerned about, Alexander Caron. He could not do the muscle ups on event 2. I think it looks like an injury. I mean, I can't imagine that he's just that lacks that much proficiency in the muscle up with the rucksack. He seemed to take attempts from time to time, which means he wants to stay in the weekend because you had to attempt to not get disqualified. So it doesn't say DQ'd or anything on there. So I imagine he's still allowed to be doing it, but there's got to be an issue. Sarah said, I thought I heard Chase say he was hurt. I mean, something's got to be going on. He has the capacity to get 1 rep there, I would imagine. So Caron. I can't roll my R's. So we'll call him Alexander. But yeah, he'll be fighting for the weekend. Yeah, I think he wants to stay in it. He didn't seem to have any desire to quit. He could have just walked off, signed his card, and moved on. He kept attempting so that he wouldn't get disqualified. So I think he wants to play for the weekend. But I don't think we have much of a chance to see him doing much more than what this is where he's going to end up. Hi, nice to see you. Yeah, so that Alexander Caron, I would have had I had him in my top 12 going to the games. I don't think that we're going to see him going. Another person, Jake Berman, 52nd place finish and then a 27th. I don't see him having a great chance to come back from that. I thought he could be making his rookie debut, I believe. I don't think so. Griffin Roll, he's out. He pulled out. He had an issue on event 2. People were coming out to assist him. He's pulled out 39th, 39th. I mean, he wasn't doing great either. I'm sure he's bummed that he has to pull out, but better than getting continuously injured or hurting yourself more. So probably makes sense. And he wasn't in a great position anyway. We'll go look through the end of this. I don't think there's anyone we need to really look at back here or anyone too surprising back here. But interesting day 1, because there are a couple people outside of the top 12 right now that we don't think that just might not make it. Oh, Bruce, smash the like button for Amanda. Please do. Smash that like button. Let's see what Sarah said. With some of the well-known names low on the list, do you think the programming is good or bad so far? I think the programming is different than what we've seen. I think we really need to see the whole weekend play out, because I mentioned that legless rope climb workout and how it impacted someone like Brooke Wells last time too. And that's similar, like she had a similarly bad finish on that same event programmed by someone else. So I think it's too early to really make a definitive answer on the programming. I think on the team side, we're seeing most of the teams that we expect to be in the top 10, not necessarily in the order we expected, but the people we expected. So I think you really have to see the whole weekend before we can make an assessment of how the programming impact things. But I think we all knew the programming was going to be a little bit different with bots. Like, he focuses on some different things, and it's gonna be a learning experience, this being his first year. And so Sarah said Brooke is super low. Brooke is 23rd, I believe. That's a hole to climb out of. I don't think it would be impossible, but I think that it's not looking great. But definitely possible, because I brought up Haley Adams last year, who had a really bad start to her semifinal and then ended up winning the whole thing. So is it possible? For sure. Is it great? No. Where's her sister at? Worse. I can scroll down. Sydney Wells is her twin sister. Sydney did fantastic on the first event. I was really impressed by her. And then she got 0 reps on the second event. And I just think that's that upper body pulling. I don't think either of them are great at the ring muscle up to begin with. You throw a rucksack on their back, and I don't think it gets better for them. For Brooke, it was worse than I expected. Sydney, I mean, I would have expected or hoped that she got a few reps, but we've seen Sydney struggle with ring muscle ups in the past at Granite Games. So it wasn't shocking. Brooke was a little surprising, because you would think, as someone as seasoned as she is, that she would be able to adjust that a little bit better than Brooke did, but we'll see. Brooke is in trouble with the snatches looming. Maybe I know, like, I feel like her arm, I'm trying to show my arm, her arm has healed up a little bit. So I do think that, I don't think that's as bad as we may think. I think that she's going to be able to move some weight. She doesn't need to win the event, and she shouldn't try, because you don't want to get injured again. But maybe I'm rethinking that now, because where she is so low, she might have to she's going to have to take some risks. So yeah, actually she might take some risks on that event that she wouldn't if she was in a more solid position. But I don't think Sydney is going to qualify. I don't think there's any chance of that. Brooke versus Sydney. I mean, Brooke is going to beat Sydney for sure. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. I think it's a genetic. I think genetically they're just not great at this movement. They're both not good at it. Brooke has been training a lot longer, seriously training a lot longer than Sydney. So she's been able to overcome it more than Sydney, but they're just not great at it. And it was part of the programming, and it should be. Upper body pulling should be part of the programming. They just weren't able to adapt to it like most of the rest of the field did. Yeah, she looked fine. I think Bruce is talking about Brooke on the snatches. Yeah, she looked fine last year. I don't think she's going to have too much trouble with the snatches this year, but she's in a hole. Brooke, if we go back up, Brooke is 23rd. She's in a pretty big hole here, and she's going to have to go for it on everything now. I think everyone is doing too many Oli lifts instead of gymnastics. Um, I I would sort of agree. I think that gymnastics is a bigger focus with Boz, and body control is a bigger focus of Boz than it was with um, Dave Castro. So I think that everyone has to pay attention to that and know that we're going to be doing more gymnastics than we've been doing lifting. CrossFit definitely has a bias towards Oli lifting. We move barbells in a lot of workouts. We often have 1 rep max tests. And I think we're going to start seeing a little bit less of that and a little bit more of gymnastics tests like we saw today. That's my guess from what we've seen so far. I don't know if we're doing too many Olympic lifts, more that the focus is evolving and becoming more broad than it used to be. And Oli lifts used to be a bigger focus of the programming. And I think that's just going to shift a little bit with Boz, who has a little bit of a gymnastics bias compared to Castro and a gymnastics background. How are Brooke's handstand push-ups? She's fine at handstand push-ups. She has a little bit of a weird back thing that sort of happens. Like her butt sometimes hits the wall. Depending on what the standards are, though, it shouldn't matter that much. And she's done great on some handstand push-up workouts. I believe she did really well on the handstand push-up workout in the Open. So I wouldn't be super concerned about that. I think she'll do fine on that event. She has to do great on all the events, really. But I don't think that's a hole that we should be specifically concerned for unless there's something going on that we don't know about. She had trouble on the wall facing one. Oh, they're very iffy. Yeah, she is like a weird the way she does them. Yeah. That's what I was trying to say with like the back thing that she's had in the past. She moves a little bit funny on them, but she doesn't have a hole in them like we talk about with someone like Laura Horvath. So she's good at handstands, like handstand walking events. So we'll have to see how that ends up looking for her. But I don't think it's as big of a hole for her as it was the upper body pulling. That's my guess, but I've not seen her do many wall facing handstand push-ups other than at the games. So we'll see how that ends up looking at the end of the weekend. Lindsay Porter was someone who's sort of a rookie to keep an eye on, young, coming out of, she did the team division. She did really well on that second workout. So, and Lexi Neely did really well too, Shelby Neal. So we've got a lot of good women. The men are interesting too. We had already talked about how there's some men outside of qualifying, but I do think that like handstand push-ups and stuff could be good for Saxon and Spencer Panchek to try to make a charge up the leaderboard. And maybe being smaller will help them on the cycling of that squat clean. So we shall see. I have hopes that we'll see, a push up the leaderboard from one of those two guys, but who knows? Yeah, climbers are good at upper body pulling. So someone like Laura Horvath, who was a climber, she's pretty good at upper body pulling. She's not as great at the push-ups, like the handstand push-ups, the pushing, upper body pushing versus pulling. So let's just take a quick look at Africa because they are going. And I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but Africa actually has a pretty solid live stream. Is it as good as what we're seeing from North America? No, it is definitely not as good as what we're seeing from North America. But for what it could have been, I'm kind of impressed by Africa's live stream. I don't know who this woman is in first. Gilmary, we're just going to leave it at that. But she's in first. I don't know why workout 2 doesn't have scores here, but if you look at the total points are based on 2 scores. But Michelle Bazinet, who is someone we were expecting to be fighting for a position, in second currently. So definitely within striking distance here. We'll see how that goes the rest of the weekend. We did expect Christina Lidovitakis to be a little bit better. I don't know how these two scores broke down. It looks like she won the second event. Actually, do you see that there? It says she has 118 total points with 18 points on the first event. So maybe she's going to make a charge. Maybe that was just a weak, maybe she's a weak puller. I don't know. I didn't see that event. I didn't see as much of the Africa, but looks like she could actually make a push. And Africa starts at 11 tonight, or well, in about an hour, whatever time zone you're in, about an hour from now. So there is something to watch after this. If you want to watch something, their live stream, not too bad. On the men's side, Jason Smith being in first, he came in very low out of the quarterfinals, and now he's in first, and he's been to the games multiple times. 39 years old. He's about to age into the second Masters age group and could very well win the semifinal. I mean, look at his points. He may run away with this 192 to 168. Yes, there's still 5 events, but he's got some buffer room and he's a very experienced athlete. I would, if I had to bet right now, I would bet Jason Smith is going to the games. Could be wrong, but that would be my bet. And there's only one person going to the games from Africa in each division. And on the team side, we've got CrossFit, FBDV Mayhem in first, won both events. I think they'll probably go. I think that was the assumption going into it. But we've got Cape CrossFit was who people thought might push them. And they count 2/3, which is really good. But it looks like CrossFit Mayhem Africa is ahead of the pack there. Let me go back to some of these questions here. Oh yeah, Africa's live stream has been excellent. Yeah, definitely something to check out. If you haven't, check it out. You thought event one stream was embarrassing on Cross? I thought it was actually pretty good. I was surprised with what they managed to put together, to be totally honest. I thought it was pretty good for the nothing we expected. So I thought it was good. Let's see. There was another comment, I think. Speaking of teens. Speaking of teens, I know you did a video on Mal. Do you think the problem is teens competing? I do not. I think that teens compete in lots of sports. We see teens compete. Look at college athletics now, where kids the same age as her are competing. And we now have name, image, and likeness in college athletes, and they can make money off of competing in college. And they have to maintain school in certain grades, and they now have sponsorships that they are responsible to do as well. And they're the same age as Mal, and they are doing really well. So I personally think that teens are allowed to, should be competing. I don't know the truth, or what, not the truth, but what exactly is going on with Mal. And I just think that, she's allowed to give out as much information as she wants to give out. There's a lot of pressure on her. There has been a lot of pressure on her. Everybody was predicting her to win the games. And basically, if she finished second in anything, it would be considered a disappointment. And I can't imagine what kind of pressure that puts on somebody who's 19 and who you're still finding yourself at 19. This is not somebody who's, 30 who has this pressure like Tia. 19 is still very young. And the idea that anything other than winning is going to be a disappointment has to be hard. But then again, we don't know what this thing is with Mal. It could be a family thing. We have no idea. And I don't think it's super fair to speculate a ton, because she should be able to come out and announce whatever's going on when she's comfortable doing it. She's not on a team, right? So she's not impacting really anyone other than herself. And that sucks, but that's it. She doesn't, it's not like she's letting anyone else down specifically. Going back into the comments. Sorry, I don't have anyone doing the back end of this stuff for me. So yeah, someone said good point about college athletes. Yeah, I think we now have college athletes that have to keep up with school and now have sponsorships with NIL stuff going on. and they're doing it, and they've been competing at a very high level for a very long time on national television and stuff like that. And they're teens and they compete. Like, I don't think we should not allow teens to compete in CrossFit. I don't think that's the answer. I just think that it's a lot of eyes. It's hard for some people. I'm sure some of these things, like college athletes, there are teen athletes having very similar troubles to what we've seen with CrossFit teen athletes. But there's such a wealth of them. There are so many that we just don't notice it in the same way we notice it in CrossFit. There's just less numbers. It's easier for us to notice. Um, Laura and Emma Lawson were my picks, like to win the whole games. I think they are two really good options. If Emma Lawson was to win the games, it would really put her, I mean, she's obviously on the map already, right? But because you have someone like Mal who did so well at the similar age, Emma's kind of in that shadow. If she was to win the game, she would, blow right past that shadow. Alexis Raptis did great this week so far. I think she's in 5th in her semifinal. I can go there if you're curious. But Alexis Raptis is doing well. No real concerns with her. Yeah, 5th. So she did 16th in the first event and then 3rd in the second event, which I think would be good for her because she's good at muscle ups and fine with the burpees, right? Sarah said, I don't know if I believe the pressure thing, honestly. Works crazy hard all year and skips out 1 week out. Fishy. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's something else going on, but I just don't think it's fair to speculate and to do anything that might tarnish someone's reputation when we just don't know. And I wouldn't want to say anything that's wrong, that it's not fair. And she made her decision. And, if it is pressure and it is mental, I imagine it's going to be mentally hard to watch everyone in August competing at the games. And she doesn't get to be there. So, who knows? But I think she made the best decision for her. And that's really all that matters, right? Like, you want everyone to be healthy and happy. And for us as viewers, this just opened up so many storylines and so many exciting people to watch, possibly push for the podium. And we're going to have a very different podium for the first time in a long time. So I think that's exciting too. And we can just focus more on that and focus more on all the other athletes who are doing awesome and not the lack of one athlete, because she's not there. No matter how much we talk about it, she's not here anymore. But there are 60 or 59 other fantastic women who are doing really impressive things. And there will be 40 women at the games who will now all have a better chance of winning it. So I think that's what I'm going to focus on a little bit more personally. Alexis should do well in the handstand push-ups, 100%. Alexis Raptis is one of the best athletes in the field at handstand push-ups, if not the best. So yeah, that event, look out for Alexis Raptis. She could be coming for the win and might be. Let's see. Sarah Cooper said, sounds more like an injury. I think it's more about the mouth thing. And it totally could be. And she could just not be ready to talk about it. And I'm sure we'll know more at some point. It could be still she had Lyme disease, I believe. It could still be like complications from the recovery of that. Like, you never know. You never know. Yes, a lot of analysts said no rookie would ever top Mal's rookie year. And I would say, I believe Emma Lawson may have been finished better than her and had better, and, wore the leader's jersey. So, yeah. Someone said speculating is fun. It is fun. Speculating is fun. I just think that sometimes people need some space for things. And I just, I want Mal to be able to have the space to do whatever she needs to do without, if it is mental stuff, having any more pressure, mental and emotional stuff from us. personally. Patrick said, wishing the best for Mal, and you're correct. The games will be so much fun to watch this year, with first being legitimately up for grabs. Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway from all of this. I don't want to see Mal hurt, upset, whatever may be going on. No one wants to see that. But who doesn't want to see a really exciting CrossFit Games where we have no idea who's going to win? Sure, I think Laura Horvath is the front runner. Laura's fantastic, great athlete. She does have some holes, and I think that there's potential for someone to push her. And I'm excited to see whatever we get this year from the games, with this being so wide open. Men's too is fairly wide open. Justin Medeiros has to be your pick because he has won every in-person event he's done, last couple years. But I just think he's more vulnerable than some of the other athletes that we've seen in first, like Rich and Matt. Thank you, Bruce, for saying you love my pigtails. My hair is a little bit dirty from the workout I did today, and I just needed to put it up, to be totally honest. I did a variation of the first event, actually, where I biked, assault runner, and ski, but I didn't do the pulls. I did farmer's carries instead. So that was kind of fun. Yeah. Medeiros is definitely the fave. Yeah, I 100% agree. Medeiros is the favorite. We will see him next weekend at the West semifinal. I'm actually going to be there and going to try to put out a ton of content from there. So if you want to see that and you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe below, because I will be putting out a ton of content from semis when I'm there next weekend. And Justin Medeiros will be there. So hopefully we'll see something big from him, and he will likely be my favorite to win that semifinals. I haven't done my predictions for that semifinal yet, but like I said, we haven't seen him lose in a long time. So I'm just going to bank on him winning. And Bruce Wayne said he's like Froning. I would agree that Justin Medeiros is more like Rich Froning than Matt was like Rich Froning. And he says he does what he needs to do to win. Yeah, I agree. He's the kind of athlete who looks around, knows what the other athletes are doing, and knows what he needs to do to win, and executes. Let's see what this one says. Another comment here. Will the CrossFit Games even be watchable if household names don't qualify through semifinals? Depends on how much you enjoy the sport versus the individual athletes, right? If you just enjoy watching really good CrossFit and watching really competitive athletes, then yes. And also I'm going to say household names will qualify. We might be missing some, but that happens, right? Look at the year that Sam Briggs won the games, 2013, and then didn't qualify in 2014. You still watch the games that year. Household names will qualify, right? If we looked at the leaderboard again, Emma Carey's become more of a household name, did great as a rookie her first year. Emma Lawson has been getting a ton of attention. Amanda Barnhart's been there forever. Danielle Brandon is definitely a crowd favorite. So when you have all of these athletes who are really awesome, still in great positions, Paige Powers, and remember, we have 5 more scored events to go. So some of these household names that are lower are going to make it. And some may not. And that's too bad. But that's another storyline for next year, right? These athletes come back. And someone like Brooke Wells, who we were talking about earlier, who's certainly a household name and has been competing for a very long time, she's not 100% out of it. She can blow some of the other events out of the water if she can, and has the potential to still get into the top 11, because I do think that these athletes here, look at the points are still fairly close. And I think some of these athletes had really strong single events who won't do as well in the other ones. Amanda Fisher here with a second, then a 38th. Danielle Kearns with a third and then a 32nd. These athletes may not be the athletes that are going to be in those positions at the end of the weekend. I would predict them not to be. I think they had really great events on day one and will likely fall down the leaderboard, and this is the highest they'll be. That's my thought process. So I think that we will get a lot of the big names to the games quick look at the men's side real quick, because we still have like Jeff Adler, who's been on the podium before. He is your first place athlete. He will likely get to the games. Jason Hopper, big name. Dallin Pepper, big up and coming athlete. Noah Olson, like he's been fantastic for so long. So he's 10th year qualifying if he qualifies. We're going to have plenty of names, household names at the games. And we talked about Justin Medeiros a second ago, and I really have no doubt that he's going to qualify out of the West. So I think we're going to have a lot of household names. We just might lose some, it looks like, but hopefully we don't lose too many. Vellner, I have to root for my boy Vellner. I imagine Vellner is going to qualify too. Like I feel very strongly that Vellner is going to qualify out of the West, and that's another household name. So I don't think we're going to be losing all the household names. And I think if you really like CrossFit, at least for me, like I'm going to watch even if someone like Brooke Wells doesn't qualify. Like that's not going to make me turn off my TV. Although I'll probably go to Madison and be there, but that's not going to make me stay home. So that's just my opinion though. I do think losing a lot of household names would hurt, but I think we're going to have enough of the household names. And we're getting some new names like the Emma Lawsons, like Dallin Pepper, who's still younger. Like we're getting new household names, and we're just going to get more new ones this year if some of the old ones don't qualify. And Sarah says, I want to watch Roman win. Yes, Roman is low right now, but I think we saw his worst event. He's in 11th, which is still technically a qualifying position. He has 18 points over 12th, which is also a qualifying position. And I think like muscle ups are his worst thing, really, that I can think of off the top of my head. And we're done with those. So I think that we're just going to see Roman improve from here on out with the weekend. And I think that his focus is to win the games. I don't think his focus is to win semifinals. I think he would if he could, and he probably can. Like, I think if he falls into it, he'll be happy to fall into it. But I do think his focus is win the games. Like you want to peak at the games. And Sarah wants Luke Parker to make it. I mean, he's in 10th right now. I did not think he was going to make it, but he actually did better on event 1 than I expected. So you never know. Imagine if proven athletes Saxon, Brooks, Sydney, and Morad don't qualify. I would be really surprised to see Morad not qualify. He's in 4th right now. He would have to really do poorly the rest of the weekend. And I think he's fairly good at knowing what he has to do to qualify. But Molo, it is realistic at this point that Saxon, Brooke, and Sydney wouldn't qualify, unfortunately. But I do think Sydney was kind of a reach to qualify, and her upper body pulling has never been very good, and it's probably never going to be her strength. Same with Brooke, but Sydney's still newer compared to Brooke. So I don't think we're going to see her qualify with where she is now. I mean, it would be crazy for someone to have a 0 on one of the workouts and qualify for the games. So I would say that you can more than imagine Sydney won't qualify at this point. Saxon and Brooks still have a chance if they can really, really do everything they need to do the next 2 days. Bruce wants to talk about teams. What do you want to talk about teams, Bruce? What about the teams? I think if I'll go over the teams real quick on North America East, I mean, East Nashville being in first, like that's what you'd expect. I know they were disappointed by the 3rd place finishes, but they're really not that bad. I'm surprised by Move Fast Lift Heavy 24/7 doing as well as they are, but that's great. Mayhem, AB CrossFit Mayhem, I think is someone people overlook, but they qualified for the games last year and they're doing great again this year. Krypton, I kind of expected them to be in 4th, and that's where they are. Mayhem Independence is in 5th. That's a little bit lower than I'd expect, but they're definitely in a pretty good position for the games. Let's see. And if we go down to the cut line, I'm a little bit surprised to see OBA so low, but they're still a qualifying position, and hopefully some of the heavy lifting we have to come will play in their favor. and they'll continue to be in a qualifying position. And it's awesome to see CrossFit Think Tank doing this well, because I wasn't sure if they'd be on the outside looking in, maybe in that 10th, 11th position, but they're in 7th right now. Yeah, Sarah said she's surprised fee is so high. Fee Sagafi. I thought she had a chance to qualify out of this field. So I'm not so shocked. And I do think that she's fairly good at the cardio stuff. She's smaller though, so it's kind of surprised that she did well on the sled like she did. And she's good at the gymnastics and did well on the muscle ups. So that worked out well for her. Will Jason Hopper flop? Do you mean flop at the games or flop at semis? I don't think he will flop at semis, is what I will say to that. I think he'll do well at the semifinals. I think the semifinals is programmed pretty well for Jason Hopper. And Zara said Hopper cannot flop. He is Matt's only hope. I mean, no, he has Amanda Barnhart, guys, who's doing really well. So I don't think Hopper is his only hope. Just one of his hopes. One of his only hopes. I think Morad will struggle with events tomorrow, except maybe Linda. He might not do as well on the running and snatch event compared to Linda. We can look at the events for tomorrow too if we want to do that. What do we've got on the docket here? So we have event 3, which is Linda. And if he can do well on Linda and then just mitigate the damage on the other workout, I mean, he's in 4th right now, right? Like that's a good position. So I think that if he can do well here on semifinals Linda in the first event and then mitigate the damage on the second event, he can still be in a qualifying position. Remember, we have 12 men, the top 12, and he's in 4th right now. So I am optimistic that he can do well. I don't know if this was an air assault run. I didn't really know if we knew where the run was, but I'm looking at it now. It says assault runner run. So the assault runner run and then into the 8 snatches and then run again. So those are some of the events for tomorrow. Let's see this. I don't know. I would imagine that they're eating what they usually eat. This asks what they're eating tonight for dinner, by the way, if you're not reading the comment on the screen. I think the athletes are probably eating what they usually eat because that's just the safest bet when you're in a competition. Bruce says Amanda Barnhart over Hopper. Yeah, I think with the way she looked today, there's a chance she can do better than Hopper at the games. I do think that this weekend is good for Hopper, though, but I'm interested to see how Amanda does, because I think Amanda's done really well so far and better than I expected. Oh, and someone points out that he has Katrin also. That is true. Matt has Katrin. She's competing out of the West next weekend. I would agree with Sarah's assessment, at least for sure, with Katrin being at the bottom here. I think Katrin is a great athlete. She's won the games twice. We can't deny that. I think Katrin is on the backside of her career, and I think she's training more for fun than she is training for, to win the games. This is interesting. Katrin, the OG Haley. I would actually say someone like Samantha Briggs is the original Haley Adams. I think they're a little bit more similar comparatively, in my opinion. Too many machines. Yeah, Bruce, I agree. I would have loved to see this run anywhere but the machine. I don't mind one air assault run machine event, but 2, do we need that? I think we could have ran outside, but we'll see. Bruce also says that Katrin should have never won the year that she couldn't do any peg boards. I don't disagree with you. I think that's probably true. They probably should have penalized that more. Instead, all the athletes that couldn't do pegboards got the same finish, which was like 20 something. and it probably should have been a 0. Yeah, Sarah says no minimum work required. And I think that was okay because there were so many athletes who couldn't do it that if you just had no minimum work required, you would like if there was a minimum work requirement and they were going to eliminate everyone who couldn't do that, there would have been a ton of athletes eliminated. I think that would have probably hurt the competition and it would have looked bad. But I think instead of giving them all the 20th place points, they should have gave them all zeros to penalize it a little bit more. And I think that would have impacted things on the leaderboard more too. That way you're rewarding the people more who could do it versus rewarding the people who couldn't do it. Because Katrin, from what I remember off the top of my head, now to bring this up, she just sort of stood there. Like she realized that she couldn't do it. And there was a second half to that workout. And she just sort of waited. And it was smart under the circumstances, under the rules that were given. She played by the rules and she made a smart decision, in my opinion. But because she could do that, it was just, I just feel like it was a little bit unfair. So I think that they should have had no minimum work requirement, but to stay in the games. But I think that you should have gotten a 0 for completing 0 work versus getting like 50 points for it. That's my opinion on that. All right, we've been doing this for like an hour and 10 minutes hanging out here. I do know Africa, I believe, starts in like 40 minutes for anyone who wants to head over to that after this. Let's see what we have here. The year Froning got second, the Dave Castro said if Rich could not do a rope climb, he would not stand on the top of the podium. I believe he do one though. I think he failed a bunch, but I think he may have did one anyway. But I believe Dave did say that. I'm positive Dave said that, but I think Rich may have actually got one and then like fell to his death. Not his actual death, but I think he did end up getting one. But Graham Holmberg obviously did better. Yeah, yes, he did. Yeah, he got one. And I think the argument Bruce is trying to make there is that because Katrin didn't do it, why didn't they have that same approach towards the peg climb as we did have towards that rope climb? I don't know why Dave approached it differently that year, but you know, it is what it is. That was a long time ago, but maybe they would change that in the future based on what happened. We haven't seen anything quite like that peg board and how the peg board impacted the women that year, but the next year the women came back and slaughtered it comparatively. So that was pretty cool to see the growth over just 1 year's time. Anyway, we have tomorrow coming up. We kind of went over some of the events there. And this was a fun live stream. I appreciate all of you who hung out with me all night. Let's see. This has been fun just in the chats around the CF space. Yep. I appreciate you all that came out here to chat a little bit and hang out for an hour and 15 minutes. I really didn't know if anyone would show up to watch this late at night, but it was fun doing, and maybe I'll jump in here and do it again sometime. I do have work the next couple days though, so I'm not sure it's going to happen, but it may happen again sometime over semifinals. So keep a lookout. I appreciate you all for watching, and I will definitely have a wrap of the semifinals probably coming out Monday morning. So keep an eye out for that one, and I will see you guys later. Night. Bye.